There is not an appreciable risk right now in Tokyo or in the ships offshore. The levels that we're now getting some accurate reports on, or at least I should say reliable reports, are very low. They're just above background. They are detectable. The difference is that we are detecting radiation in the air in Tokyo, but at their very low levels, nowhere near what is necessary to make people sick. Well, the levels in Tokyo are less than 1 millisievert. The levels around the reactor complex have settled down to around 12 millisieverts. They had spiked up into the hundreds of millisieverts, but it requires tens of thousands of millisieverts per hour, and that would mean you'd have to be around a long time before you would even get anywhere near health effects in the short term in humans. Long-term health effects, you could probably get that in the thousands of millisieverts over time, but not at the levels we currently see around the reactor complex at Fukushima, and certainly not in Tokyo. There's a lot of press, of course, so you see the exploding buildings on the air, and those are certainly bad things because they've affected the ability of the Japanese responders to deal with this issue. However, those explosions were hydrogen gas explosions. They were not radioactive core explosions. The radioactive core was not involved in those explosions. It was below it and contained. The radiation that we're seeing now in the air over the last hours, almost certainly, we can't be for certain because we're not there, but almost certainly the radiation we're seeing now around the reactor complex and in Tokyo is coming from the fire that broke out in a spent fuel rod containment facility in Unit 4. Unit 4 had been turned off months ago, and they simply took the fuel and put it in a containment area, really like a swimming pool, and somehow or another, we don't know exactly what happened, but somehow or another, the water from the containment area, or the swimming pool-like containment area, must have left the area because those spent fuel rods, the used fuel, caught on fire. And the radiation we're seeing almost certainly is coming from that source and not from those dramatic explosions that we saw earlier. There's probably a little radioactivity coming from there, but most of it is probably coming from the spent fuel rod fire in reactor 4. Over the last number of years, the United States, which hasn't built a new nuclear reactor in decades, was considering moving forward. In fact, there are licenses and construction moving forward on a number of reactors now. There is a rebirth, a resurgence of the nuclear power industry here in this country. That's likely to be negatively impacted in some ways in the short term. In the long term, I'm not sure. Our energy outlook is so negative with our dependence on oil and the issues with coal, with the atmospheric issues there. We've got to go somewhere. So I don't know what will happen long term. Short term, I think there will be a very significant reevaluation of this surge in interest in nuclear power in the United States. And if that results in greater reactor safety and nuclear safety, then that can be a great thing.